Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 48th episode of the Triboro Podcast. I'm your host, always, Justin Alonso, joined on the other side of the computer, Wi-Fi. Well, I'm on Ethernet. I don't know about internet connection. Nicholas O'Brien. How is Nicholas O'Brien?
Tired.
Well, that's
I don't
good.
like
So,
West Coast games.
yeah, West Coast
West
games
Coast makes
suck.
me tired.
West Coast tired.
West Coast tired.
Just tired. West Coast games. Wired. East Coast
Yes.
games.
Real.
Um, Now that we're done with our little special moment, we had baseball. We only had one series to cover for both teams, but for the Yankees, very good baseball. For the Mets, very not good baseball.
Not good. Poor.
I think
Poor.
the number one takeaway from the
Alright.
Mets series is Ben Joyce is a fucking dude.
That is also true.
Ben
That
Joyce
is
is a
also
dude. He
a,
is
basically 105.
105. That's
Insane.
yeah,
His elbow is gonna blow out in about 2 seconds.
yeah.
But hey, as long as he stays healthy, more power to him.
No, we going right into Queens.
Absolutely. Got a lot to talk about. Go to
Let's
Queens.
go.
Now entering Queens.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Queens, where the Mets finished up a 3-game set against the Anaheim Angels, losing 2 out of 3 to those pesky Angels, with a guy who throws an 105-mile-an-hour fastball. But before we get into that, as always, your injury and, for this time, roster update brought to you by Triboro MD. So very quickly on the just regular roster side of things, Adrian Hauser, Ty Adcock, and Jake Diekman, all who were DFA'd earlier this, 2 weeks, call it, have all been released. So they all free agents.
Surprised they all cleared. I feel like
Yeah.
a team would have taken a chance on Diekman.
Yeah, I mean, I forget what his contract was looking like, but like at this point, it's probably very minimal they would have to pay.
Regardless, anyways, but
Yeah. If anything, I thought someone would have snagged up Hauser.
yeah, I forgot Hauser too. Yeah,
Yeah. But onto the injury side of things. Starling Marte will be flying to Port St. Lucie as the team travels to St. Louis for their makeup game. He will maybe start a rehab assignment this week, so says Carlos Mendoza. And he has been taking BP this past week, so he's on the right track. Whenever they kind of like interviewed Marte or Mendoza, he always mentioned that Marte felt good, feels healthy, so that's all you can ask for at this point. So whenever he gets into some rehab games, probably be a few before he can actually be activated, but we will see. But speaking of rehab games, Reed Garrett and Sean Reed Foley both started their rehab assignments, one faring a little better than the other. Reed Garrett, in his first rehab appearance, both in Double-A, he pitched a third of an inning, giving up 4 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout on 25 pitches. Sean Reed Foley, 2/3 of an inning, 0 hits, 0 runs, 1 strikeout, 3 walks. So, not, obviously don't take a bunch of stock into the first rehab game, but obviously Garrett did not look too great. Thinking, I feel like, just from like a gut feeling, they need to kind of change his pitch mix if they really want to bring him back in a viable role. Because the reason he was so good earlier in the year is because no one could really touch that splitter of his. But now that he's been around and he was pitching so much, obviously there's data on it, but everyone's seen it. it's not as good of a pitch as it was, so he has to rely on his other pitches, which are not nearly as good. So it's kind of like he only really has one good pitch, but I don't know. I feel like he's kind of the odd man out in this bullpen right now. I don't really think they are like really waiting for him to get back. Obviously, from like a depth perspective, but once he's activated, I don't think it's a sure thing that he's back on the major league roster. I'm pretty sure he still has options.
Who, Reed Garrett, right?
Yeah, I want to say he does because I don't know, but he has a lot of years of control left. I know that much.
Fangraph says he has 5.5 years of control left, with one minor league option.
He does have an option.
He's a free agent in 2030 at 31 years old.
Sick. But yeah, I don't really see where he kind of fits in right now because a lot of the guys they brought in from the trade deadline, you're not going to option. Because let's go through this really quick now that we're on here. Edwin Diaz, obviously not. Phil Maton, no. Jose Buto, no. Huascar Brazaban, no. Ryan Stanek, no. Danny Young, maybe. Alex Young, he's been really good in a very small sample size. But Danny Young has options. Alex Young has options. Brazaban has 3. Buto has 1, but I don't think they're getting rid of Buto. So you do have space, I guess. Because you're they're only carrying 2 lefties. So you would have to definitely get rid of 1. Because I think Sean Reed Foley gets put right back in. I don't know. Reed Garrett, though, I just not sure. Because you also have, I completely forgot about this. You have Nunez, who's also on the IL. He just started playing catch this week. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how they want to kind of decide on this bullpen, because contrary to earlier in the year, there's not a lot of optionable guys in there. But we'll see. Sean Reed Foley looked better than Garrett, but still 3 walks. Yikes. But it's the name of the game. So see how the rest of the rehab goes before any "oh my god, he sucks again" comments go. But that is your injury and roster update brought to you by Triboro MD. Now, the Angel series. They lost 2 out of 3 against a pretty bad Angels team who got worse not even a week ago. You had game 2 in the bag, as one might say. And just a very unfortunate turn of events there. But we'll get into that in just a second, because the big, I guess, takeaway from this game is the offense. The offense scored 5 runs in the first game, 4 runs in the second game, 2 runs in the final game, for an average of 3.6 or 3.7 runs per game. But they went 6 for 35 with runners in scoring position. In a 3-game span, they went 6 for 35. That is a 171 average. Pretty sure the first game they had 18 at-bats with runners in scoring position, which they won. Oh, great, but still, 18 at-bats. That's kind of crazy. The amount of opportunities they had that they created for themselves, but they just nobody except for JD Martinez could get that big hit to get that run across, and that was really it. I mean, game 2 was a punch in the mouth, one might say. JD Martinez hits a go-ahead grand slam in the bottom of the 7th No, can't be the bottom of the seventh. Top of the seventh, I believe. Huascar Brazaban comes in for his second appearance as a Met. Gets the first two guys out. Then allows a single. Allows a walk. And a go-ahead 3-run home run. Right after JD Martinez put the team ahead with a grand slam. David Peterson was taken out before that after 6 innings with only 82 pitches. So, Justin, 82
Yeah.
pitches. David Peterson, he had a decent game. I will say Mark Vientos kind of screwed him a little bit. Vientos had a few misplays in the infield that almost, you could say, really directly correlated to a run. But 6 innings of, 2-run baseball, you're at 82 pitches. You're already about halfway through the third time through the order.
That was gonna be my first question.
Yeah.
You know my opinion on this. I leave him in. You sink
Yeah.
or swim with your guy. One thing that it took me a lot longer than I'm proud to admit to take. The Angels have as a pitching staff, have the second worst ERA with runners in scoring position in Major League Baseball. They're
Really?
only second to the Rockies. So the second worst team in baseball for pitching when runners in scoring position.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's just fantastic to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's obviously a tough choice for Carlos Mendoza because 82 pitches obviously isn't a lot. I probably would at least let him start the inning, have a guy up behind him. But like Tyler McGill, David Peterson has the, I guess, track record of kind of blowing up in just a random inning. Like he'll look like prime Sandy Koufax, and then he'll give up 5 runs in the next inning. So I can't fault Carlos Mendoza for taking him out there, but I can fault him for keeping Brazaban in there. As like I said, got the first 2 guys out, and then allowed a single, allowed a walk. But even before that walk, I think every batter he faced had a full count. So I think it was pretty noticeable that he wasn't like on top of his game in this outing, and he threw 36 pitches at the end of the day. That's a lot. I think Carlos Mendoza kind of left him out to dry a little bit. You saw him kind of warm up Stanek once things kind of started to get away. I think he started warming up Danny Young after that too, but still, I kind of feel like after the single to keep the inning alive, I think you got to get someone going. And then after that walk, you had to take him out. He obviously just body language, and he was just missing spots, and like it wasn't particularly close either. So a rough start for Brosban in his tenure with the Mets, but I think he got a little screwed by Mendoza there. He kind of just left him out. But that was game 2, just a complete gut punch after a huge hit from JD Martinez, one of his bigger hits. Well, this is actually his second grand slam in like the past week, which is, second go-ahead grand slam, which is just crazy. And yeah, it just a complete gut punch. And then game 3, the offense just didn't show up again. It is what it is. That's what happened. The pitching was fine. Jose Quintana, he's obviously struggled a little bit, but he only gave up 3 hits. He walked 4, and then the bullpen came in and did not allow a hit. No, I think they allowed 1 hit. Excuse me. They allowed about 1 or 2 base runners for the rest of the game, with the Mets down by, at that point, I think it was 1 or 2. And the offense had multiple chances to either tie it or go ahead, and just did not happen. So, before we talk about the offense as a whole,
according to you, they had 1 hit and no walks.
believe that's right.
That's what you had in the
That's
final
right.
score for player of the game.
That
So
that
if
should
that
be
is
right.
according to you, so if it's wrong, it's your fault, and you spread
Mm-hmm.
misinformation.
Correct. So 1 base runner in the final 3 innings. Very frustrating. Very frustrating. But there is some good to take out of the series. Not a lot of it, but there is it. I'm going to sneeze any
Do
second
it.
now.
Do it.
And I'm back. So Paul Blackburn made his Mets debut on Friday. He looked pretty good. He went 6 innings, allowed 6 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. They did kind of tinker with his pitch mix a little bit. He threw his cutter a lot more and threw his fastball a lot less. I think on Savant, his fastball grades out pretty poor, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes, his fastball has a -3 run value with an expected slugging of 731. His cutter, on the other hand, is kind of right in the middle at 0 run. I don't know why I did this, but 0 run value. His changeup is his best pitch, and on Friday he had a 46 whiff percentage on that changeup. So they already started tinkering with him, which I figured they would do. He's like a kitchen sink guy. He has over 10 or more percent. Like, wow. He throws, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different pitches, all at 10 or more percent. 4-seam fastball at 21, cutter at 20, changeup at 19, slider at 18, sinker at 11, curveball at 10. But like I mentioned, fastball percentage went down, cutter percentage went up. So we'll see what else they kind of tinker with in his next start. But a very good debut. Obviously, more than you can ask for from essentially a 5th starter. But 6 innings of 1-run ball is fantastic. And then Brandon Nimmo had a pretty decent series. Throughout the 3-game set, he went 4 for 9 with 2 walks and 2 strikeouts. Brandon Nimmo kind of been struggling a lot lately. He had a pretty poor July after a red-hot June. So even if it's just like, if I think he had 1 extra base hit, but even just seeing him get his hits is very encouraging, because I feel like he's been striking out or kind of just a lot of weak contact for the past 3-4 weeks. So just seeing him get those hits is a sight for sore eyes. So hopefully he can kind of start to turn things around.
To your point, 184 WRC plus in June, 80 in July, and obviously short sample size, but 150 in August. And
Right.
he has a 54 WRC plus in the second half. So after the All Star break.
Yeah, pretty tough. And perfect segue into that is the offense as a whole since the All-Star break has been pretty, or yeah, since the All-Star break, I'm not dumb, has been pretty, I don't want to say poor, but just rough, I guess, is the way I'll put it. And a lot of it is with runners in scoring position, because they have opportunities, they just haven't been cashing any of them in. So since the All-Star break, since they got back, with runners in scoring position, the offense has the 6th most plate appearances, which I guess is good. They're getting chances, they're getting opportunities with runners in scoring position, so at least guys are getting on. But they are 22nd in weighted runs created plus at 95. They are 23rd in OPS at 685. And they are 28th in average at 197. So the offense as a whole has been really struggling with runners in scoring position. Haven't really been getting that big hit. Haven't been getting that run across. We saw that a lot in the Angel series. I feel like there was guys on every single inning. There's a guy on third every other inning, and they just couldn't get him in for the life of them. I think my biggest complaint is this team doesn't know how to hit a sac fly. That's like so frustrating. A lot. It's a lot more frustrating than a lot of other things because when you have a guy on third with less than 2 outs, you just need to lift the ball. You just need to get it like a little deep in the outfield. That's it. But again, it's either a strikeout or a double play or just a weak contact that they can't really run on. A very frustrating watch thus far, especially in the Angels series. But from a specific player standpoint, since the All-Star break, only three hitters on this team are above average in weighted runs created plus with runners in scoring position, and that's J.D. Martinez, Jeff McNeil, and Luis Torrens. Torrens is in a lot smaller sample size than everyone else, but some notable names
Can I just ask something
struggling
real
with
quick?
runners in scoring position right now.
I'm
Yeah.
curious what JD Martinez is without the Grand Slam.
I
You know what I
was
mean?
also wondering that because I feel like besides he had a grand slam against the Braves and a grand slam against the Angels. Besides that, I feel like he's been pretty mediocre.
Yeah.
I honestly do think those two hits are kind of skewing things a little bit because obviously they're huge hits. Obviously they're almost the most valuable hit, I guess,
Yeah.
from a
I get what
run
you
creating
mean.
standpoint. So I do think without those two hits, those two grand slams, he probably would fall around average to below average. But
Yeah. I love how
some
on
other
Splits Tool you can't see the leverage. It's so awesome.
you
Whatever.
should be able to.
Go on. Go on.
But alright. But like I was saying, some notable players struggling with runners in scoring position since the break. Brandon Nimmo, who we kind of touched on, he's been struggling as a whole, but uh, he's hitting 111 with runners in scoring position. He is 52% below average in weighted runs created plus. And like Justin mentioned a little before, struggling since the break, 43% below average overall. The main culprit, Pete Alonso, is hitting 071 with runners in scoring position, 42% below average. He had a home run against the Angels on Friday with a guy in scoring position. So you take that away, and I'm sure it's a hell of a lot worse. I think, because I was looking at it yesterday when I was gathering these numbers, I'm pretty sure that home run on Friday was his first hit with runners in scoring position since the break. So you take away that home run, he literally has not gotten a hit with runners in scoring position since they've gotten back. Francisco Lindor, he's hitting 167 with runners in scoring position. He's 16% below average. And Mark Vientos is hitting a clean 100, 5% below league average. This team as a whole has been struggling a lot offensive wise. I mean, they had a few big games, notably against the Twins, and then it was really only one big inning, if you really think about it, against the Braves and Charlie Morton. But besides that, struggle city. And Pete Alonso still hitting cleanup. I think this was now 2 weeks ago almost that we talked about it, getting him out of there. They keep running him out. I'll admit that Francisco Alvarez has also been kind of under the radar really bad for a while now. So 2 weeks ago when I said he should be the cleanup hitter, should not be the case now. He's doing even worse. I didn't even get his numbers with runners in scoring position since the break, but I remember looking at it and it was really bad. I think it was in negatives for WRC plus, which is just over 100% below league average. But they got to change something. Alonso is quite literally costing you so many chances for runners in scoring position. 3 at-bats with that on Sunday. and he did not cash in a singular run. I think it was a ground out, a pop up, probably a strikeout in between. But he's been brutal this entire year, and even more so since the break. But overall, since the break, some some guys are having decent success. Obviously, Jeff McNeil being them. But besides that, let's see. Jeff McNeil. Yep, there it is. 199 weighted runs created plus since the break. Pete Alonso has a 152, but like I mentioned, struggle city with runners in scoring position. Francisco Lindor, 144. Mark Vientos, 133. JD Martinez, 118, and that is the final hitter above league average. Everyone else, Jose Iglesias, 97. Brandon Nimmo, we mentioned already, 54. Francisco Alvarez, 5. 5 weighted runs created plus, 95% below league average.
Don't care. He's a catcher.
But I do want to talk about Alvarez a little bit because, like I mentioned, he's been pretty bad for a while now. I will admit I didn't fully realize how bad, but let's see. Let me do this.
Oh, he's mathing.
We're gonna go.
You're
last
mathing.
30 calendar days. 30 calendar days. Francisco Alvarez. There he is. He is hitting 194 with a 254 on base percentage, a 274 slugging for a 55 weighted runs created plus. Luis Torrens, on the other hand, 306 for 350 on base, 417 slugging for a 119 weighted runs created plus. I'm not sure what it is. I feel like a lot of this year, his slug hasn't really been there. I mean, we're in August now. Obviously, he missed a lot of time with that thumb injury, but over 200 plate appearances, he has 5 home runs. 5. He's slugging 418 overall.
Just thinking about it, he's had like a good amount of injuries this year, right? Or like maybe not serious one, other than the thumb. Like he's had like some nagging ones or like some day-to-day ones, right?
Yeah, he's been pretty beat up. I'll admit. I think it was last week. He was dealing with a sore shoulder, so he didn't. I don't think he played a lot in the Twin Series, if I'm remembering correctly.
And that's Stat Pad City.
So, right.
Any New York team against Twins is Stat Pad City.
So yeah, he's been kind of beat up. Yeah, the shoulder, obviously the thumb, but
being a catcher.
Right. And like his underlying stats aren't. Unfortunately, they're not really great either. There's not a lot of, like, he like earlier in the year when we were talking about Lindor and Nimmo, like, oh, they're hitting the ball hard. They're just finding a glove. Like, no, you look at his Savant page, it's not qualified, first of all. Second of all, a lot of blue and a lot of the last quarter blue. The only thing he's around average in, and it's still a little below average, is hard hit rate, chase percentage, and walk percentage. And his bat speed is the only thing that's above average. Everything else is below average. And even like you look at his expected weighted on base. Let's see. Since the start of July, really, he's been below average. And up until this point right now, he has an expected weighted on base of 228, which is obviously very bad. So maybe like you mentioned, maybe it's the injuries, maybe it's like those little nagging things that happens, but they could really use his bat right now, especially when a lot of the guys are struggling. But Mark Vientos is still holding strong. On the other hand, Mark Vientos is doing really well. I'm very glad that he's finally getting his shot. Since July, he has a 136 WRC plus. A lot of the underlying stats look fantastic. Obviously, he's going to strike out a ton, but at this point, put him at cleanup because I really don't know. I'm going to do some digging if you want to give your opinion on that.
Yeah. I was gonna go back to Alvarez because there was something I noticed. You also have to realize he only has 638 career plate appearances. Realistically, like that's about a season's worth of plate appearances. That's over 3 years. Granted, he played 5 games in 2022, but still, he still got called up for that. That's when he made his major league debut. So over the last 3 years, he has about a season's worth of plate appearances. So he still is relatively young, and you saw with, I'm not saying this is what happened, but you saw with Austin Wells where I think they're very similar in the sense of when they were coming up, they're like, oh, big bat's going to play, defense, not so much. They worked on their defense pretty hard, and Austin Wells said he worked on his defense pretty much all the first time he got called up. Then once it was solid, he worked on his offense. So that could also be something along those lines where he just worked a lot on his defense and then maybe starts working more on the offense because like, all right, my defense is at a place where I'm kind of like happy with it, or like I'm a good defender.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, obviously Alvarez's defense has been fantastic. The one thing that he's been pretty bad at, honestly, is blocking. But I think it's kind of one of those things as a catcher that the broadcast talked about it a lot. Is you're kind of a framing catcher or you're a blocking catcher?
Yeah.
Because if you're aiming to frame, the way you're setting up, you're gonna let some balls are just gonna get through.
Yeah.
Or you're just not gonna get to some of them, and then vice versa. If you're like setting up for the block, you're not gonna be able to frame as well.
Typically, from what I've seen, framing catchers are on one knee. I don't know if Alvarez is that way, but also Joe Girardi was talking about it on the broadcast how he obviously was a manager for the Phillies, and he was talking to JT Realmuto, and Realmuto is known for, other than this year, being like consistency or like a model for health at catcher. And Realmuto told him, or like Girardi asked him, like, what's the difference fatigue-wise between no knees down and one knees down? And JT Realmuto just said night and day. Like, it is incredible just how much you save your body. So, until robo-umps get a thing, I am so on board of if some balls get by, so what? You're keeping the guy healthy, and you're also framing at an elite rate.
Fair. Yeah. That makes sense. But what's it called? I found what I was looking for. And maybe the answer isn't Mark Vientos. Because since July, this team is... The more I look into it, like, I want to move Pete out of the cleanup spot. You have to. He's been absolutely atrocious. But there's not really a better answer. Mark Vientos has a 76 weighted runs created plus if runners in scoring position since July. Pete Alonso has a 31. So it's an upgrade. It's not a big upgrade, but it's an upgrade. Yeah, they have, since July, they have 4 above average hitters with runners in scoring position. Francisco Lindor, who you're not moving from leadoff. Brandon Nimmo, who's been, obviously, like we said, been struggling. I don't think you're moving him out of the 2 hole. JD Martinez, 129. Maybe you could move him to clean up. But then who do you bat third?
Yeah.
And then Jeff McNeil, who is leading the team if runners in scoring position since July. So I think what this is telling us is Jeff McNeil is your cleanup hitter. No. But honestly, maybe.
Who else?
Like I said, exactly. Like, you have to. I honestly don't think, no matter how much everyone else is struggling, Pete has just had such a long track record this year of being so bad with runners in scoring position that you have to move him.
Pete
You
Alonso
have
went to
to
the
move him.
Gleyber Torres school of how to not have a contract year.
Literally. Like, it's insane how these two players are just completely fell apart.
Yeah.
And I say fall apart, and Alonso's having, like,
It's not as bad as Alonso's, not nearly as bad.
yeah, like, he's
It's not
having an
nearly as
okay year, but runners
for
scoring position is
standard, for expectation wise, not.
for sure. But
Yeah.
I don't know who the answer is at cleanup anymore, but all I know, it is not Pete Alonso. But the Mets play a pretty pivotal game this afternoon in St. Louis, a makeup game from May, which is the last of the season series, I believe. So if they win this game, they hold the tiebreaker against the Cardinals. If not, I think it's tied. So I think after that, what is it? Is it record? Well, no, if it's tied, then record would be.
I think it's
That's
record
all.
against division. You look that up, I'll
Yeah.
look up Mets record against Cardinals.
Okay.
Alright, Mets record against Cardinals. Yeah. The Mets are 3-2 against Cardinals this year.
Okay.
Tiebreakers, LB.
Yeah, it's intra division record. So, yeah. So it is within division. So it goes
Yeah.
head to head within division, and then I don't think it's going to go to anywhere else after that. So, pretty big game for the Mets. Kind of need to wash away that Angel series to, pick up this game because the Cardinals are struggling as of late, but it's still August. There's still a lot of time. So if they come raiding back and you're in a tie with the Cardinals for that last playoff spot, this game is going to mean a lot. But after the Cardinals, the Mets travel to Colorado in a very weird travel schedule just because of that makeup game. Travel to Colorado for a 3-game set, and then to Seattle for another 3, and then back home. But they currently 1.5 games out of the final wild card spot, 2 games back of the first wild. Well, actually, it's tied right now. I didn't realize that. 2 games back of the first and second wild card spot. The Cardinals are 3 games back. But you got to keep winning series. That's the name of the game. Because at the end of the month is when things get really interesting. They have 4 games against San Diego, and then 3 games against the Diamondbacks. San Diego currently is tied for the first wildcard spot. Arizona currently has the third wildcard spot. So the end of August is going to be extremely important. So, got to get the rut out now. If you're going to struggle now, so be it. Because when it comes to that 7-game span, everybody needs to be on top of their game. Because I don't know if this is a hyperbole. I don't know if I'm exaggerating. That second West Coast trip at the end of August can make or break the season. But
It's fair.
that's all I got, Justin. If you had anything else to add.
No, like that. It sounds dumb to say about an August game, but like when you're fighting playoff teams and teams that you're chasing and they're chasing you because it's essentially even right now, like those type of series can end your season, or they could also win you or make your season getting into
Right.
the playoffs.
Right. So, pretty big August, honestly, overall as a team. But got to get through this road trip first, and then settle back in at home, and then take care of business when you go back out west. But that's all I had. So, Justin, if you want to take us away.
Bro, that was a big young Bronx.
Now entering the Bronx.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the. I already said that. Welcome to the Bronx. I almost said the intro.
Wrong
but,
intro.
Yeah, wrong intro. But first, before anything, Your injury update brought to you by the Triboro MD. So, Cody Petit threw his second bullpen session on Thursday. Anthony Rizzo has begun fielding drills and begun hitting. I'm very curious if they activate him when he gets like healthy off the IL, or if they just say like goodbye.
I mean, it's tough, right?
Because you can't. You're gonna send down Rice for a guy that I think that there is somewhat of an argument of, did the concussion just have permanent effects?
Right. I mean, it did take a while. So, like, I don't think that's crazy to say, but
Especially with
yeah,
the longer you don't treat a concussion, the worse it gets, and the more
Right.
chance it has of long-lasting effects.
I don't know. I think they're probably on that. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Type of wave, but
Because I don't think you could DFA guys when they're on the IL. I could be wrong. Even if you
probably.
can't, it would kind of be dumb from an organizational standpoint. And it's like
Yeah.
an asset standpoint, but regardless. John Birdie has increased running to 80%. I don't know who you send down when he comes back. Are you gonna
Yeah.
that's gonna be another tough one.
He has an option, right?
He may. You check that, yeah.
Option. Yeah.
Ian Hamilton threw this is the first time I've heard this term, high intensity bullpen on Tuesday. Or he's going to throw one on Tuesday. I've never
Sure.
heard that term. What's the difference between him just throwing a bullpen like a normal bullpen?
Yeah.
I
By
hate
the way, John
Yankees.
Birdie does not have options.
Does not,
So
but
never
no.
mind.
And then the big one I waited for this. Clark Schmidt will throw live batting practice on Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm going to get segue right into the game 1, because I have a very big point on Clark. So, game 1, Marcus Stroman sucked balls, and that's putting it nicely. He went 2 2/3 innings pitched, 8 hits, 7 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. What do you think is the issue? Because I have 2 answers for it.
I honestly don't know. I think, obviously, as a ground ball pitcher, it's the name of the game that you're gonna blow up. But I think now, before I make a fool out of myself, I want to double check.
I'm pretty sure he gave up like a lot of extra base hits though. Like, I'm trying to see if where was it? Toronto. He didn't give up a home run. Never mind. I thought he did.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I am correct, or my eyes aren't deceiving me. He's not getting as many ground balls. He's a ground ball pitcher that's not getting as many ground balls as he usually does. And he is getting a lot more fly balls. And obviously, in Yankee Stadium, if they're hit to right field, that's asking for trouble.
What are his splits righty-lefty? If just since like you have that up there, if you could see really quick. It doesn't really matter, but it's just. I was gonna say.
His baseball savant got rid of splits.
No. No, because the reason why I'm asking that is if. Or do you say? Okay. You could do it.
Hold on.
No, but the reason why I was saying that is if you're at Yankee Stadium and you're like, one, you're giving them more fly balls because you kind of just like I don't say regress as a pitcher, but kind of that happened, and you're also worse against lefties, and that's a significant issue. But if you have it.
Yeah, so at home, let's see. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted.
Oh my god.
There it is. Hold up. Versus lefties. Lefties are hitting 271 off of Stroman. They are slugging 488. At home versus lefties, there it is. They are hitting 260 off of him, and they are slugging 530.
Yeah, it's, 50 points higher?
Yeah. So, lefties are better against Stroman. and even more so at home.
Yeah. I think that there's a strong argument that he's fatigued because so
Okay.
I have two reasons for saying that. One, a tweet by Ryan Garcia, one of the telltale signs that a pitcher is dealing with fatigue is usually regressing command, which could be a result of your release height dropping. His release height has been significantly worse his last couple starts. Like, it's just been going down, down, down. So,
Okay.
you also have to realize he only pitched about 140 innings last year. He hasn't really been pitching that much
Yeah, he was
as
hurt,
of late.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think there's something to that because also his fastball on the year was averaging 90 miles an hour. You know he wasn't going to be a flamethrower. You know he was going to have a slower
Right.
fastball. On that start against the Blue Jays, he averaged 88.8 miles an hour.
Mhm.
But he was not in a DeLorean, so he could not go back in time. So I think a big thing is just fatigue. Because
Yeah.
the release height plus the drop in velo, I don't see how when Clark comes back, I would love to just see a little like Phantom IL, a Stroman.
For Strowman.
Just like give him a little bit off, let him rest. Just yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. Because I think the no, not even. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Never mind. Don't listen to me.
yeah. Don't
That
listen.
makes
To him.
sense. Yeah.
I think it was this game, and I think the situation was the Blue Jays were up 5-1, and they intentionally walked Judge with the bases empty. Like that's
Yeah.
just
That's a new level.
like was it? Who's the? I forget the Blue Jays manager, the Gordito. But you're a pussy. Like
Like,
you,
at least just pitch around him. Like, don't just
like
give up like that.
yeah, the Blue Jays their season's lost this year. But you're telling me you don't want guys to know how to pitch to Judge, see what works and what doesn't for when you actually do need to win those games.
Right.
That's just
Yeah, that's bad.
you're a pussy. They ended up getting killed that game. They did end up. It was a fake comeback, but they did come back. And then I think Chad Green struck out the side in the bottom of the ninth inning. Just fuck you, Chad
Because
Green.
of course.
Going on to game two, Carlos Rodon threw 5 1/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Pitched significantly better than that. The last two batters that he faced both got on base, and they both ended up scoring. And also, it was 6-1 when he was taken out. It's not like it was this high leverage where like he has to be perfect, where every base runner matters. Like
Yeah.
it's 6-1 in the sixth inning. Your offense has been cooking all game. I'm pretty sure they scored more runs later. I didn't really. I think that he looked a lot better doing that kind of like pitching from behind. He was. He almost had 2 4-seam fastballs where he had one that he was throwing like 92, 93 to keep hitters off balance. But then in that same at bat would throw a 96, 97 to strike the guy out.
Interesting.
So I forget who it was. It was either Girardi or Cone. It was whoever the secondary was on the broadcast. Was talking about how most of the time lefties become crafty because they don't have the stuff. But when you have the stuff and you become crafty, that's if you're smart about it, that's insane.
Yeah.
So
No.
if he wants to keep doing that, I think he's gonna have a very good rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of goes back to I talked about like months ago. I think like kind of the beginning of the season where a lot of pitchers now, or it should, I guess, they kind of take a little bit off of their fastball and then reach back when they need it because not only can it help with injuries because you're not maximum effort each pitch, but it like we saw with Rodon, it kind of throws guys off because you're throwing 92 and 93 and then all of a sudden 97 is just past you.
Yeah.
I
And
think it's smart.
most of the time your velo goes down the longer you pitch. So say you're throwing 97 in the first inning, third time through the order you're throwing 94, 95, that's going to be so much easier to hit.
Yeah.
But if you do it the other way, where you're throwing 93, 94 in the first time through the line, then bring it up to 97, 98, it's almost a wash. Maybe even a little
Yeah.
bit better.
Yeah.
So I was very much so a fan of that.
Definitely.
Then the last game, Garrett Cole went 5 2/3, 6 hits, 200 runs, 0 walks, 4 strikeouts. I was working, so I cannot see this game. It downpoured in the morning, so I helped with the grounds crew sponging up fields.
Oh, that's fun.
It was not fun. But from what I heard and kind of like the clips I saw, he did battle a lot. The only thing is he had a lot of hard hit balls. I think it was like 9 hard hit balls or something along those lines. So to only have 2 earned runs, and I think both runs came in the second inning, that still is pretty good. I'm curious to see if there's still a little bit of fatigue from the sickness, because I'm sure like everyone's felt it when like you had a sickness, you get over it, but you're still fatigued for like a week or two after.
Yeah.
So, and also like a stomach bug when you're like when it's coming out of both ends. I'm sure there still was a little bit of
Remnant.
fatigue there. Even if it's only like 5% of fatigue, that's still 5% more than he should have.
Yeah.
Especially with all this is like Cole's never really had an injury in his major league career, especially a lengthy one, so he never really had a spring training. So all of that considered, solid start. I'm not worried because he also had no walks. And he's had starts in the past where he'll go like 7 innings, 3 strikeouts. It was just one of those days where it was a contact day. So I'm not worried. I know you were worried on Cole early in the year. Kind of where's your thermostat on Cole?
Definitely lower.
Lower? Lower than me or lower than you were?
Lower than I were.
Okay.
Because, look, it might just be whatever he had, the stomach bug. But at the same time, kind of like, it did kind of catch me off guard. He was kind of like, moving his shoulder around during that start, kind of like trying to get a good feeling for it. I don't know. I still think it might be smart to kind of take things easy. But if the results are where they're at, if the results are kind of not, prime Cole, but like still very good, keeping you in games, then so be it. But definitely not as worried, but I'm not worried. I would be cautious, I guess, where I'm at now. Less worried, more cautious.
Then I'm doing this in like a really weird way. So now I'm going back to the offense. So one thing that I just love to see is that Jazz was running the third baseline, running in the outfield, or not outfield, running in the foul territory. He ended up like catching the ball or whatever, and then started fist bumping a bunch of fans. I love to see that. I think the only criticism I have for Jazz right now is that I think him and Judge need to sit down for an entire day on their off day today and talk about laying off flowing away. Because that was Aaron Judge's kryptonite in the beginning of his career. He significantly cut down on that, and look what he became into. So I think that Jazz is an aggressive hitter, which I like. I do like that, but there's just some at bats where it's just lowing away, swung and missed on all 3.
Yeah.
So I think that they need to just like sit down together and talk about that. Because if Jazz can lay off that low and away pitch, I think he's going to be a significantly better hitter.
Yeah, and to your point, he at low and away, he has a 51% whiff percentage.
Yeah. Could you check Judge's not only this year but throughout his career?
Yeah.
And like a year by year, because I'm curious how far that's like changed.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go back to 2017.
Yeah.
His first full year. We'll let this load. Wow, 60%
Yeah.
with percent. Oh wait, actually looking the wrong way. 74 at low and away. 2018, 70, 2019, 84, 2020,
Played, I think, like
76.
20 games.
Yeah, fair enough. 2021, 62, getting better. 2022, 63, 2023, 80, 2024, 77.
All right, but it still is significantly better.
Yes.
And I think he also is getting less low and away pitches too. But regardless, significantly better than what it used to be. So I think they need to cook for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Then the last note I had on Jazz was, do you have anything else on Jazz? Because it's a perfect segue for me.
Oh, no, I think it looks good at third. I
That's
like what I've seen
that's a
from at
big
third.
thing too.
Yeah.
I love him and Anthony Volpe batting back to back. Like, I think that is just so much fun because you saw it where I want to say it was yesterday's game where there was no outs. They were first and second. Jazz stole third and Volpe was right behind him.
Yeah.
Where the amount of double steals you could do, or even if it's like a first and third situation, I forget what it's called, where like you steal second to bait out the throw so the runner can go home.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you have those guys back to whatever, if it's Jazz first, Volpe second, Volpe for whatever. Having that flexibility, I think, is so nice on the bases. Because they're also really the only two guys on the Yankees that can run as of right now.
Yeah.
But I wanted to touch on Volpe's kind of intensity that I noticed. So, Anthony Volpe on Friday's game was already 3 for 3 in the game. They were down 8-5 in the bottom of the 8th inning. I think there were 2 outs. And he ends up like striking out and he slams his helmet and bat down. I love that. Because most of the time guys will do that. They're frustrated they had a bad game. He was 3 for 3.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was like a triple. Yeah, he was a triple off the cycle. So he
Maybe
had
that's what it is?
I
Yeah.
doubt it. I doubt it was. But he already had 2 extra base hits in the game.
Right.
And I think that is perfect what you want from a guy like that. Because last year he was kind of like, he was pretty tame. Even when he was struggling. But if he's playing well and he's getting mad that he's not 4 for 4, I love that. I love that personally. But adding to my point, because I'm so smart, about him playing well. So since the All-Star break in 15 games, he has 5 home runs, 4 doubles, so 9 extra base hits, 5 stolen bases, a 203 WRC+. His on-base percentage is .383. His weighted on base is .457. So his weighted on base is 70 points higher than his actual on base, and he already has a 203 WRC+. So, yeah.
I'm gonna sneeze again. I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good. Don't die. He's dying. He's dying. He died. Nicholas O'Brien died. You're fine. You're fine. Don't die. Try not to die.
I'm good. Excuse me.
But something that kind of shocked me is that among all major league players, including pitchers, he is 20th in MLB and F4.
Yeah, I didn't. I think I saw the same tweet you're probably talking about, but I did not realize that at all.
That is just to kind of
being a below average bat, like that's impressive.
I think his OPS WRC plus on the year is above 100. No.
It is? Oh, okay.
I'm pretty
Not
sure,
my-
like, because of this hot streak, it like just went up.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. But I think when you only do hitters, he's 13th or 14th.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But still, you're gonna tell me he's gonna be a top 20 player? Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
For what he's
definitely.
produced and like how he still hasn't hit his stride yet. So I'm very excited about that.
Definitely.
Then getting into Ben Rice, he's been looking solid at first base. Nothing special, but he looks like an average to above average first baseman. Which,
Yeah.
when you think about it, he only started playing first base this year. So that's kind of crazy.
Right.
But I think it would be maybe the biggest mistake of all time if they just took him out. I kind of alluded to that with Rizzo. Because you look at his numbers. Right now, he has a 108 WRC plus. He has about a 744 slugging. You look at his expected numbers. His on base is 304. His expected weighted on base is 385. He has a 265 expected batting average to a 207 batting average, a 440 slugging to a 556 expected slugging. So if you add up his expected numbers, he'd have about a 950 OPS.
Right.
Compared to about like a 740. So I just think it would be such a mistake to move on, or not move on from him, but like to kind of stunt his development and just send it back down. I think that would just be such a mistake.
Yeah, definitely. Because
Then,
honestly,
go.
really quick, sorry. It's obviously not a guarantee that you're going to get much else from Rizzo. So why kind of waste A, Bryce's development, and B, time on trying to see if you can get anything from Rizzo when Rice can give you just as much, if not more,
a
more
lot
possibly
more than what Rizzo had. Like,
Right.
let me...
So,
Aaron Rizzo. I want to check what Rizzo's WRC plus was this year.
not great.
Not great at all. 81. So, Rice right now, when we're saying he's unlucky, is at like a 25. He's like 25% better than Anthony Rizzo. And Anthony Rizzo, like, there was nothing really to suggest he would get better either. And he was absolutely god-awful defensively.
Yeah.
So, I just don't see how you put him
It doesn't
in
make
over
sense.
Rice. Yeah.
No.
Then, getting into a little bit of drama. So, Glaber pimped the ball off the wall. Classic Josh Donaldson special. Didn't run out of the box. He got to first. I will say that ball was smoked, so I don't think he gets to second. But still, the not running out and not even attempting to get to second is very bad optics. Because if you run out of the box, you get to first, and then the guy has a good... Because it was a pretty good relay. Good relay to second. You end up not going to second because of that. That's fine. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But, yeah, just didn't run out of the box. Then on the next play, Anthony Volpe hits a double that he gets thrown out on at home that he would have scored on, obviously, a second. I don't believe in the law of predetermined outcomes. I just don't. I think you can't. They're going to pitch differently with a runner on second than a runner on first.
Yeah.
But I will also give him a little bit of defense, saying it was a god-awful send by Luis Rojas. Like, Glaber was gunned by, like, 10 feet.
Yeah.
Like, that was a god-awful send. But that being said, kind of just, like, the whole optics of it weren't good at all.
Yeah.
He ended up playing the next game. He went 1 for 4 with a walk, and then 2 for 5 in the next game. So...
Get your head out of your ass. So, guess...
Went good, did well the next 2 games.
Right. Yeah.
So he is on the thinnest ice possible, with this being the second benching of the year.
Absolutely.
Like, I wouldn't be shocked that if something like this happens again, they DFA him.
Really?
Just because, yeah, he's hitting well, but if you have to bench him twice, and then you bench him a third time, and he's on a contract year, you're not going to offer him the qualifying offer. So you're not going to get any draft pick compensation from him. There's no compensation picks like there is in sports like football. So there's no real reason to... Or, let me rephrase that. I wouldn't be surprised if they DFA'd him after the cutoff for making the postseason. So that way he couldn't be on another team's postseason roster.
Right.
Which would be pretty scummy, but smart at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't know. I think it did take me by surprise he pulled him after that.
I think it was a good thing.
Yeah. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
But
everyone glowed about his character after, which I think that, yeah. Like, I don't think Glaber's, like, an asshole. Like, people are, like... I think people kind of have this warped perception of him. Because he's kind of one of those guys that... He is a very... He's a risky player. In the sense, like, he takes risks. And it won't work out sometimes. And that kind of... People look a lot more at the negatives than the positives with him.
Right. Yeah.
Because he has been significantly better as of late. So
yeah.
I think, but that even being said, I think he has one more shot. If he doesn't take it, I think he's done with the Yankees.
Yeah. No, I agree.
My
only critique,
go
really
you
quickly,
go.
Yeah. My only critique of the whole benching thing is kind of a double standard. It was double standard, I think, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I've seen a lot of other guys kind of, not run out ground balls, like not hustle out of the box, like stuff like that, and nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it was Verdugo in the same series. Maybe it was after the game Torres got benched. Didn't really hustle out of the box at a ground ball. And it's kind of like he's just jogging. It's kind of like, all right, if you're benching Glaber...
It was a ground out at the first. Or not the first, but like ground out, it would have been a single.
Yeah, regular ground out, whatever, okay. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he was just jogging. And if you're going to bench Glaber for, not hustling out of the box and kind of pimping a not home run, then I don't understand why you're kind of just letting things like that slide.
I think that Girardi brought up a good point that if it's like a ground out in the infield, whatever, like, and if you're taking, like, you're giving, like, he called it a good effort, so you're kind of, like, jogging, you're not, you're, like, giving it a little bit of run, that's fine, because it's a long season, guys are going to be tired, whatever, but if it's, like, something like that with Glaber, where you don't know if it's a home run or not, you're running. But if it's like a ground out to the infield, like, he's fine with you going like 80%, 90% running.
Right.
But if it's something that it could potentially be a double, maybe a triple if a guy misplays the ball, you are running as fast as you can.
Fair. Yeah. Right.
So, I never really thought about it that way. But I think, let me just say, I love Girardi in the booth. I think that he's great in the booth.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
Speaking of managers and just weird shit, I was listening on the radio when this happened, and they didn't really know what happened, and I still don't know what happened, but Aaron Boone got ejected, and then the very next pitch, the hitting coach got ejected. So in back-to-back pitches, 2 people got ejected.
Right.
So I think it's honestly the ump show part of it, because Boone and Laz Diaz have gone back and forth. Like, when Boone went behind home plate and, like, went with the catcher and, like, this strike, this isn't, whatever, that was against Laz Diaz. And Laz was the crew chief. And I know they were, like, bickering a lot on Saturday, so the game before. I think it's just the ump show. Like, I've never seen that before, 2 coaches getting ejected on back-to-back pitches.
And also, as a hitting coach, what do you... Besides, I guess, arguing balls and strikes, what are you possibly saying to get ejected?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Whatever.
I don't think I've ever seen a hitting coach get ejected.
Yeah. So a guy that I kind of avoided talking about because I didn't want to repeat myself over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, Aaron Judge. He was intentionally walked 4 times in 2 games. I just want to point this out. So, he is slugging .701. absolutely insane. The league average OPS is 712. His slugging is a tick off the league average OPS. Like, that's just... Have you seen the meatball argument on Twitter with Aaron Judge? What is your opinion on this?
I think it's fair to say that he does hit a lot of meatball home runs.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same breath, when you're pitching to Aaron Judge, you have to be perfect. If you're not perfect, you're going to miss. And Aaron Judge does not miss mistake pitches.
And two things. One, he had 2 home runs that were not in the strike zone this game, or this series. One of them was in on the hands, where the number one, like, you do one of two things to power hitters that are righties. You either jam them in on as a righty pitcher. You either jam them in on the hands or you throw low and away. This ball was a good couple, like 3-4 inches off the plate inside. Aaron Judge, like, chicken wing, swings it and hits it 420 feet into the bullpen. Like, that's just absurd. Like, that... And...
Not human.
As you said, they have to be perfect. So he's obviously going to get more favorable pitches because they're going to be so worried about being perfect. Like, there was an argument I saw that Aaron Judge in his career has 0 pitches in what's considered the chase and the waste zones. He has no home runs in his career against those pitches. So, you're faulting Aaron Judge for not swinging at bad pitches.
Right.
I just think this whole argument is so... Aaron Judge is so good to the point that people are criticizing him for how he hits home runs.
Yeah.
And it's also a thing of, when you hit the most home runs in baseball, statistically you are going to hit more meatballs for home runs because you are hitting more home runs.
Right.
I just think this whole argument is the most brain-dead thing. It's the most brain-dead thing.
Yeah.
But then getting onto my last point, I don't think the Yankees have like a real leadoff hitter right now. A lot of people would agree with me. My ideal lineup construction right now is Dominguez in center or left, Soto in right, then Judge in center or left, whichever. I think they do Judge in center and Dominguez in left to start, but I think they end up swapping them because I think Dominguez is just faster. Austin Wells at catcher in the 4 spot, Stanton at 5, Jazz 6, Volpe 7, Rice at 8, and then Glaber or DJ, whoever's the hotter bat, because DJ has been getting a little better. Whoever's playing better, second. I do think that they may change it up based off if it's Glaber or DJ. Like, I think DJ's a good 9 hitter. Glaber's not.
Yeah.
But then, this may be a hot take. I don't really think it is. But on days that either... And it's an and-or situation. If you're facing a lefty and Stanton's out of the lineup, or if Stanton's just out of the lineup and you're DHing Judge, Trent Grisham just needs to play. He just needs to play over Verdugo. It's like not even debatable to me at this point that Trent Grisham is a significantly better player than Alex Verdugo. I know he misplayed that one ball, but he still is an incredible defender. He is been I don't have the numbers, but he's been a significantly better hitter over the last couple of months, and he's shown when he gets consistent playing time, he is a better hitter. He has this like very low key aura to him, like a little bit less than Matt Carpenter in the sense like the no batting gloves, the stash. He has like not a lot, but like a little bit to him.
A tad. That's
just like a tad bit to it. But I forget when it was, but like since Stanton's injury, like Grisham's been an above average hitter, and Verdugo's been absolutely dog shit since then. Like he had that one good. You go.
Hold on. There it is. Since June, Trent Grisham, in 127 plate appearances, has a 121 weighted runs created plus. Alex Verdugo, in 229 plate appearances, has a 63
That's what,
weighted runs created
about
plus.
double the plate appearances?
Uh,
I think like 100 more.
yeah,
Whatever.
about double. Yeah, about
Yeah.
double.
So, he's one, significantly better offensively, significantly better defensively. I like his at-bats more because I think he's a lot more, what's the term, like, almost like Brett Gardner-like in the point where he's just fouling pitch off, fouling pitch off, fouling pitch off. He has a great eye. I don't see how you don't play him when, like, he should get everyday at-bats over Verdugo, especially against lefties. Because that has pissed me off so much that they don't play him against lefties, even though in his career he is significantly better against lefties than righties.
Right.
It just doesn't.
It don't make sense.
You can't just look righty lefty. You have to look at how a guy hits and how the pitcher pitches to whatever side. And it's just
Right.
because we talked about it. I wasn't going to bring it up, but we talked about before the show how the pitcher for the Blue Jays has reverse splits. So he's a righty. He pitches better to lefties. So you can make an argument he pitches like a lefty to lefties. Trent Grisham hits better against lefties more than he does righties. So would that almost be a positive matchup for Grisham?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. It also is kind of one of those things where it probably just depends on what pitches he throws.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if he has a better
For sure.
fastball and if Grisham hits fastball better, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this lineup has so much potential, especially with Dominguez, that I'm at the point where I just want them to say like cut bait with Verdugo, and then just call it Dominguez. Like I talked about it when they traded for Verdugo that this is a trade that you make where you don't really give up that much, and worst case scenario you DFA Verdugo because he's on a 1-year contract.
Right.
And
yeah.
it doesn't really hurt you. And I think
He'll
I
find
also
a job. Someone will pick him up.
Yeah. I think I even called it, too, that I think that Grisham would be a better addition than Verdugo.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I said that. Yeah.
I remember that, yeah.
So, doing my victory lap there. Yeah. That's really all I got, unless you had anything else you wanted to add.
Yeah, just to kind of make it a little more comparable. Since July, 81 plate appearances for Trent Grisham, a league average 100 weighted runs created plus. Alex Verdugo, 116 plate appearances, 59 weighted runs created plus. And then the last thing I want to check, since the All-Star break.
And just, if you're giving me 100 WRC plus from my 9-hitter at center field that gives me competitive at-bats, I am A-okay with that every single day of the week.
Right. And since the All-Star break, a little more comparable. 41 plate appearances for Grisham, 64 for Verdugo, 79 versus a 70 weighted runs created plus.
And that's also heavily inflated by a good 2 or 3 games by Verdugo. And Grisham hasn't been getting as consistent a playing time. And when he was getting the consistent playing time, he was playing significantly better.
Right. So.
Yeah.
Trent Grisham playing time. Give.
I got nothing more that I really want to say. If you wanted to, the Yankees, they have an off day, then they start a 3-game set with the Angels. If you don't win that series, that's sad. You're ideally looking at a sweep. A sweep should not be a sweep is almost the bare minimum when it comes to how bad this Angels team is at home. When you're at home, shut up. If you had nothing else to say, take us away.
Thank you guys for what? No. But, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. As always, subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on all our social medias at Triboro Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. I think that's everything. Follow us on Spotify. You'll listen to the podcast there. But without further ado, thank you guys again, and we will see you next week.